So welcome back here, guys, to yet another video with Bram LeGroux. Just recently, I was invited to speak at an event, and the people wanted me to talk about communication. And that is why today we're going to bring you exactly the same content for you to also implement and do something tangible with in your business as well as in your life. So the topic of today's conversation is about how to communicate for positive outcomes and feel terrific. Now, I think that's a really important one because a lot of the times what I see is that people learn techniques to influence, techniques to lead, techniques to make more sales, techniques to engage staff, and so on and so forth. But the challenge is at a time is that sometimes people feel a little bit awkward in doing it, or they feel that they're kind of pressuring people, or they're uncomfortable with it, or it just doesn't feel like them. And if all of this you can kind of relate to, then again, let's bring it back to a way where you actually feel great in the process of applying what actually is working out there anyway, and do it in an ethical way so that you can feel comfortable inside. And yes, stand up for yourself. Yes, hold your ground. Yes, say your truth, but also do it with empathy and compassion for other people so that you feel good and they feel good along the way. So if this is something that resonates with you, continue on the journey here. I'm going to share with you that this is also anything that I'm going to be sharing here is actually going to be a lot more discussed in my new book that is coming out in March 24, which is called How to Communicate for Results and Feel Great. So that's basically where more information is going to be put into. Today is really about kind of bringing it back to some of the basics. In fact, there's going to be 2 rules that I'm going to be sharing with you. And before we do, I'd like us to briefly think about what is the problems that we can experience when interacting with other people. Put 2 people in the room, and sometimes it will be like technology. The communication works a treat. It's magical, it's fun, it's engaging, it's easy. But then it might also be that the same or 2 different people really are butting heads, clashing with one another, having misunderstandings, fallouts, and so on and so forth. And so some of the problems we experience is definitely misunderstandings, or not getting along with other people, or keep hitting your head against the brick wall, or not securing the right outcomes that you're seeking, or just having a really difficult conversation that really makes you feel uncomfortable. We sometimes clash with someone. Let's be honest, it happens. And sometimes we feel disrespected, or we're missing out on valuable opportunities. And last but not least, we might feel frustrated, sad, let down, disappointed, angry, or just maybe unhappy. And all of those reasons, that's why it's important that we find different ways to engage with people in a more meaningful way. Because the common denominator of all those problems that we just discussed is poor communication. And so, rule number 1 is people shut down when they feel threatened. And I'm going to share with you now, sometimes people really don't let's say, sometimes people are not aware of what we can do differently and how to resolve that sort of issue. And the thing is, first of all, is that as soon as you start judging someone in your head, you call them names, you're disagreeing with them, you're sensing bad vibes, and you're sending them out to them. All of that, you got to really understand that as soon as you go in judgment mode, you're raising a barrier. It's like, putting the armor on. And then you try and do kind of converse with somebody where they can see that you're getting ready for a fight. Imagine that somebody walks into a normal meeting with a coffee meeting or so, and they're going in with old school armor from the Middle Ages, all that, the hats and everything that closes, everything metal, it doesn't really inspire trust, does it? Well, in a way, that's how we sometimes go in as soon as we judge people. So what you want to do is you want to go in a different way. You want to work with what neuroscientists have discovered, which is that there's three parts to the brain, which is beautifully here depicted. This is an image from the book Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff, which I highly recommend you if you're in business dealings and you're basically dealing with customers and investors and so on and so forth. But the image is a really good one, because if you understand that there's 3 different centers that your communication is going to navigate through, and it's going step by step in a certain order, you'll understand that Rule number one, people shut down when they feel threatened, happens all of that because of the way that the brain was created. The evolutionary brain started basically with a reptilian brain, the instinctual or dinosaur brain, which is the brain stem. And it's all about three things in there. It's three F's, if I can be a bit more specific. One is fight, flight, or freeze. Fight, flight, freeze. So basically, when you communicate to someone, the first instance for the person on the other side to process that is going to be thinking, is this a threat? Is this person somebody that I need to fight, run away from, or just pretend that I'm not here? Is that something that I'm going to do? Because if I feel the slightest sense of threat, I'm shutting down, and the rest of my brain is not open to have any conversation whatsoever. You know how it works. Somebody just doesn't seem inspiring or trustworthy or nice to deal with, and you don't even want to talk to them. It's the same that happens when other people are experiencing you. So first of all, the brain needs to basically give a tick of approval before it allows your message, your communication, to go up to level 2. Level 2 is what we call the limbic brain. It's the emotional brain. It's where a lot more emotional connotations live. It's how I feel in your presence. Do I feel comfortable? Do I feel that this could be an enjoyable? Am I intrigued? Do I want to hear more? Do you look like the type of person that is nice and agreeable, or somebody that actually could help me out in some shape or form? All of these sorts of things, it's going to take me through the vast area of emotions that might be positives and negatives. But as soon as it's positive, it's a tick in favor of you. People want to hear more about you. And only now they're letting you go through stage number or level number 3, which is the neocortex. But notice again, if you don't get the seal of approval, because let's just say that the person on the receiver's end is not dressed appropriately, or their hair is out of whack, or they got salad between their teeth, or they just don't look very prepared and very professional, or they just don't look very trustworthy. All of these things will take away from, because it will create negative feelings in the limbic brain. And that will basically, again, stop everything from there onwards. Now, hopefully, you've done the right thing, and you've got the seal of approval from the second level, which is the limbic brain. And now your communication goes up to the last level, which is the neocortex, where rational thinking happens. Also, creative thinking and advanced problem solving all happens in there. But notice now, if you start, for example, having a conversation about, let's just say that you are recruiting for a new employee, and this new employee is basically not presenting them very well. You're not even going to take it to an offer or an opportunity, or you're not even going to entertain it in your own brain that they might be the right candidate. So therefore, you're not going to talk about what the business could do for them. You're not going to talk about, what sort of salary package that might be involved. You see already that there and then the neocortex is already zoned out. However, let's just say now that in a different environment, you're working with a client and you're doing everything well. The person feels comfortable in your presence. They're easily opening up to you. They're sharing what they want to do. And then suddenly they ask a question, how much is your product or service costing? And then, of course, that's a question that now you know that it's the right time to go there, because a question about pricing is a question that really is handled in the neocortex. But you can only start having that conversation when there's positive feelings as the foundation, meaning level 1 and level 2 are basically adhered to. And so this is just showing again that you got to really make sure that people feel comfortable. If you, for example, walking into a store and the people in the retail shop aren't really attending to you, and they're not even being very friendly and warm and welcoming, you probably are not really going to be very open to doing business there. It's because you don't feel, it's not that you feel threatened, but you definitely don't feel welcomed. And that's again voiding rule number 1. So the shop attendant let you down on rule number 1 in this case. Now, rule number 2 is relate to people in their own way. And this is a really golden one that, again, people fall so often over. And that is because they don't know any better. We all tend to have been trained to treat people the way that we personally want to be treated. And that's voiding rule number 2. Because if you treat people the way that you want to be treated, you're basically going to impose your style and your communication language to other people, whether it's the right one or not. Just imagine for a moment that you and I can talk to people with 4 different languages. Let's just say that right now we do speak English, but the other person speaks French, the other one Japanese, the other one English, the other one Indian. You can already start seeing that you're not going to easily have a conversation if that's the only language that each person speaks. You see where I'm going with this? So communication then is not easy. It's difficult, it's hard, and you're not really getting anywhere. You keep hitting your head against the wall because there is a disconnect between one language and the other. And it's the same even within the same language. So whether we all speak English, we think we might be able to understand each other, but we know for a fact that there is a clash of 4 communication styles. One style is D, the other one I, the other one S, the other one C. And we know that in a country like Australia, but again, every single country under the sun has its own numbers. We know that there's different percentages of the general population that speak that language. So imagine from all of the people in your country, if it's like Australia, 18% of them will be more speaking the language of D, 36% will speak I, 34% will speak S, and only 12% will speak C. The last one is an easy one to think about. You think of your data analysts, your engineers, your dentists, surgeons, probably also engineers already said, a lot of bankers as well that are doing highly analytical work, and so on and so forth. These highly analytical people live in a world of their own, but so do the other 3. And so the level of positive outcomes that you currently experience depends on your effectiveness with each one of those languages within the language. So whether you speak Farsi, Japanese, Chinese, English, French, German, Swedish, it doesn't really matter. Within your language, you're going to find people that are more gravitating towards either one of those 4 styles within the language. And so your ability to really learn how to, first of all, help people feel comfortable at all 3 levels in the brain, starting from the bottom and going up, is going to be crucial to impact people more effectively with your communication. And you definitely want to be clear that you refrain from judgment in your head and accept people again in your heart. So basically keep an open mind and keep an open heart. And that is already going to help you in a big way to connect more with people, build more meaningful relationships with people, build trust, rapport, and connections with people that then obviously you can also take to the next level. Rule number 2, again in summary, is also that you treat people the way that they want to be treated instead of the way that you want to be treated. Because if you treat them the way that they want to be treated, your effectiveness will go from about 25 to 50% to as high as 100%, which many of our students are getting to right now, thanks to applying what they've learned. And of course, there's a lot more to be said about it, but they learn how to relate to other people's styles rather than keep doing the same old, same old. Now, if you would like to master this, there's a very good course that I've created in 2013, but that has developed so much over the last few years that we're now into Communication Mastery 2.0, and soon actually we'll be going to the 3rd edition as well, because constantly new frameworks are coming out, new facts and figures and tools are being developed, even new software is available to us all. And so for you to become an effective communicator, you got to master your communication and always keep learning the latest insights from science, as well as the practical relevance that we bring in our courses to you. Now, I hope you got a lot of value from this. If you have any questions, please let us know. Otherwise, like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't got so that you keep getting new information. And I look forward to seeing you again in the next video. My name is Bram.